Awesome. We are live. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I'm Tiffany Harelik, and I have special guest April Leman here today with me. Welcome back, April.
Hi, so good to be here.
So we're recording live on YouTube and Facebook, and this is for the podcast for a later replay. But for everybody watching, they can see your precious haircut. It looks so good. I love it. Super. And welcome back. I want to just remind everybody that April has been a reader and a colleague and a friend of mine for several years now. You may know her from the Akashic Record world. And today we are going to talk about a magic dark. So April, if you would just kind of reintroduce yourself to the community just as a starting place, that would be awesome.
I'd love to. So I got connected with Tiffany several years ago, and it was really through meeting her and some of her friends and colleagues that pulled me into this world of the metaphysical. She inspired my interest in the tarot and astrology and everything else. She's really my ultimate mentor and guide there. And from there, I kind of went on this journey and reconnected with my own psychic gifts that I've had since childhood. And one of the key areas that I specialize in and focused in on was the Akashic Records and just energetic work in general. And so that's something that I've done for many of Tiffany's clients is Akashic Records readings. It's something I love to do. It's a different kind of aspect of connecting with yourself and the great big world around us. A lot of times we focus on past lives and just spirit guides, interesting things. And it ties really well into this topic of the magic dark, because sometimes we're trapped in a moment where we don't really know what's going on, and the Akashic Records pulls in really well, as does the tarot and other tools that we all use. So I'm just really excited to be here to talk about this topic and kind of lay it out for some people.
Okay, perfect. Yes. And this is a topic we've been kind of lingering on for a year or so.
I know, it's been a while.
So, I'm going to put in the comments an article you wrote about how to open the Akashic Records.
I love
So
that.
I'm going to find that on this. There we go. It's called Setting the Records Straight. And if you are interested in the Akashic Records and how you could do it yourself, I'm just going to link that for everybody. Like so many times I had a typo with this. Like I kept typing dark magic. I'm like, no, that's not our channel. That's not what we
Dark magic. Magic dark.
So what is a magic dark?
Yes. So in the world of energetics, there are different kind of phases you can be in. And a magic dark, we've all heard that phrase, it's darkest just before dawn. But that doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to be in that dark place. And a lot of times we don't know when the dawn is coming. If we knew that the sun was going to rise at 7:02 in the morning, maybe we would feel better about being in that dark moment. But with magic darks, you end up feeling trapped. You've done all the work. It's really this energetic moment where you've listened to your guides, you've followed the rules, you've done what you needed to do to level up, to clear out your life. You've gotten sober, you've canceled your toxic situationship. You've deleted them from your phone. You've quit the job. You've jumped off the cliff and taken all the risks to do what spirit has called you to do. Mm-hmm. But then sometimes there's just silence. And so a magic dark is really when the universe feels quiet, when you're maybe not getting those deep downloads, when you're not feeling super connected and nothing is really shifted yet. It's that calm that can be a little bit freaky. And so I like talking about magic darks because we all find ourselves in those moments where we're like, I've done everything that I know to do, and I don't feel like the universe is delivering on, whatever I'm calling in, that manifestation, that next level up that you're looking for. And so this conversation is really to help you navigate those moments and know how to stay true to yourself so that you can get to the other side.
Okay, this is such a good topic. It's going to help so many people. I know a lot of people that also just go through like training programs or get another certificate, and then they think, they plan for it. They build the website, they set up all the things, and then there's no clients, nobody's there. Right. And so it can be that moment of panic when you've really like gone through a big breakup or really like done something major in terms of your family or love life, things like that. But I love that you're bringing in career too, because there's so many people that at least come to my practice that really want to change what they're doing. You know, you come to Akashic Records, you come to astrology readings because you want to know your purpose, you want to know why you're here, and so we look at that stuff, right? We look at the North Node, we look at your midheaven, we figure out what's going on in your second house of finances, like when is it coming, what's happening here. But when you've done all of the work and there's nothing going on, in my mind, right, this is a moment of huge surrender, right? You've done all of the planning and your best efforts, you're good girling it through the world, or you're good boying it through the world, is leading you to a plateau of silence. So
that's exactly right, Tiffany. It's that moment where, you know, we are tempted to slip back into control, micromanaging. We want to orchestrate timing. And that is absolutely the opposite of what this season is about. It is about surrender and saying, you know what, I don't know. And I'm just going to continue on the path. I'm going to chop wood, carry water, do what I know to be true. I'm going to focus on myself, stay true to the work, really, and trust that it will come.
Hold your vision. Hold your vision, right?
Exactly.
I love in the notes. So April and I did show notes ahead of time to just kind of make sure we were on the same page, literally. But I love that you put in there, this is your 8 of coins moment, you know?
Yes.
And so, you know, to us, like the 8 of coins is that chop wood, carry water. It's being the apprentice. It's having a mind of the student. It's not knowing everything, you know? It's not coming in with this idea that you're the CEO, right? Like this is a surrender moment where you're being molded and shaped. And it requires kind of this softness of heart and patience, and holding your vision isn't all there is to it, in my opinion, right? So holding your vision also has to do with holding the emotion behind the vision. And where I can bring a little astrology to the conversation here is Mercury rules our minds, but it also rules our nervous systems. And so as you're going through this magic dark period and your nervous system is going into fight or flight and you're freaking out, or your nervous system is going into freeze, like I can't do anything else. Like I'm just done here. I give up. I don't believe in anything. I don't, you know, all of those types of feelings are a nervous system response ruled by Mercury, right? So you could work with Mercury, you could work with the moon to understand how to navigate your nervous system differently and affect a different response, you know, in your out picture in the world that you're seeing. So I would love for you to talk more about the 8 of coins and that part of the note too.
Yeah. So this is the timing of all of this is super relevant because this is something I've literally experienced recently. Additionally, January, I think, is such a good month for this because we all get excited about the new year, like resolutions, January 1, let's go. And then we realize that it's, first of all, it's not the actual new year. And if we look at human design, the lunar new year doesn't happen until February. And the Chinese follow that practice. There's so much that just feels dark about January. It's the weather's usually never good in the Northern Hemisphere. It's cold, it's winter. And you're like, I had all these goals. I had all these resolutions. I had all this hope for results. But the reality is we just have to focus in and continue to do the work, even when it doesn't feel good, even when you don't feel like you're getting those gains that you're looking for. And that's really like what 8 of coins is about. It is having that apprentice mindset. You don't have it figured out yet. You do need to trust the universe to bring things to you in the right timing. And so all you can do is focus in on those details. Don't take things for granted. Be that student, be humble, and be in surrender. So how that looked for me recently, I went through a huge life change, had to make some big, like dramatic, tower moments, if we're using the tarot, in my own life. And then it's just like, what do I have left now is just silence. It's a lot of alone time, a lot of time to sit with my feelings, to journal, to write, to read. And that can feel very isolating. You can feel in a magic dark, you can feel very alone because this is a moment between you and spirit. It's not about other people. It's not about being necessarily in community. This is a journey. It's a solitary journey that you are on. And that doesn't always feel good. A lot of times we're like reaching out for lifelines and want someone else to pull us out, but that's not what's going to help you. So one of my best pieces of advice, if you feel this quietness, this stuckness, this confusion around why are things happening the way they're happening, or why are things not happening, why are the clients not coming, the best thing you can do is be with yourself and don't try to spiritually bypass this moment. Because if you try to over control and try to get out of it sooner than you're ready, you're going to just you're going to have to do it again. You're going to loop back around. So my best advice is to just, the best way out is through, and this is something you just have to push through. Yeah, but it does end. It always ends. That's the good thing.
Right. This too shall pass.
Yes.
You know, sometimes I just text people, Mama said there'd be days like this, you know.
Right, exactly. Mama said there'd be days like this. And I think that's one thing we try to outdo. We try to say, okay, I have this feeling. What do I do about it? And a big part of Magic Darks is understanding sometimes sitting with the feeling and letting it be heard. I feel like grief is very much a piece of this. People who have experienced grief, losing a job, losing a relationship, losing a business, losing a loved one, there's grief always when we have to let things go. And so sometimes one of my great friends said recently, sometimes grief is just begging to be recognized and acknowledged. And that's all you have to do. It's just recognize it and acknowledge it and say, this is what it is. And if we try to overdo our way out of it, it's not actually going to work. And we're just going to get frustrated.
You know, I mean, towards that end, there's some kind of statistic like you can really only cry for about 20 minutes. I don't know whether that's true or not. But I've heard it, and it helped me because sometimes I don't want to cry or I don't want to grieve. But if I have that thought in my mind, like just go for it instead of repressing it, right? It's like when you need to throw up. If you just go on and throw up, you're going to feel a lot better, a lot faster than if you're holding it in. So same thing with grief work too. Like if I know I need to cry and I can't, right? All of my Scorpio planets, I don't really want to cry. April too. She was not born in April. She was born in November. Yes. So the Scorpio sisters here, like to tap into, if you have stuck grief, right? Stuck grief that you're not processing through, it's going to keep you in that magic dark space a lot longer than you want to be in. It'll be more Eight of Swordsy, right? And so for me, sometimes I'll put on a movie, I'll watch the animal rescue stuff. I'll do something that will inform some tears to start, and then it'll flow, and then I can actually access the thing that I'm actually sad about. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I do this all the time. Queer Eye is my show for that.
To make you cry?
To make me cry, specifically the animal rescue episode in the Austin season. I just sobbed the whole time because it's so positive and so heartfelt and it's so emotional. I just love that show for it.
That's great. I mean, there are plenty of ways you can access your grief too. Like I would say somatic therapy. I am not an ecstatic dance person, but it's super healthy for you. Maybe I'll access that in my later years. I don't know. But when emotion gets stuck in the physical body too, working that out, I'd much rather go to a lymph massage than to like bounce around my house, but that's just me,
Oh, I do all of it. So bouncing around, like dancing is a huge way that I move energy. The other thing that I've done recently, I started a boot camp with some friends. They're all moms. And so it's just like a small group of women, and we have one guy training us, and we're doing like powerlifting. We're doing lifting and some intense cardio. And that is such a good way to release energy. Just like I've never bench pressed anything in my life, and being under that bar and pushing it up. There's something about digging deep within yourself, finding the strength in your breath, because you have to really exhale to get that bar up. And it has been such a powerful way to release anger, grief, just any kind of energy that you want out of your body. And then the results are great. You're feeling stronger. You're feeling empowered. You feel good about being in your body again. And so all of these strategies are fantastic for moving through a magic dark.
Totally. A really easy one too is breath work, right? Specifically, if you do the alternate nostril breathing. So depending on what you're moving through your body, you can be very specific and kind of geek out on which it means what and how to do what when. But essentially, if you're just like closing one side of your nose and breathing in and out, or in one side, out the other, and rotating that, that's another good way to move energy through.
Absolutely.
So, if you're in a magic dark and you're like 8 months into doing the box breath and working out and still nothing is happening, and your astrologer is like, I don't know, it looks good to me, but nothing is happening, right? To me, that is just a symptom that more healing is needing to be done.
Exactly.
And so you don't have to get crazy. You don't have to like do all healing work from all day long every day. It's just time takes time. If you break your leg, it's not going to heal tomorrow, right? There's this moment where we can't control, right? We can't control the healing. So you put something in here about repeating cycles after a magic dark, and I really like that. I really want to discuss that because it's it's much like having a relapse in sobriety. There's so much shame. If you go back to the relationship, if you go back to the 9 to 5 when you were ready to be the entrepreneur, if you feel like you're backsliding or you're behind, I promise you your nervous system is whacked out, like it's activated in some way, and so this idea that you've relapsed on the thing that you were trying to get out of, and you didn't wait your magic dark out long enough. Like what's your advice for that?
Absolutely. So ways that will show up is just some practical examples. So let's say you've quit the 9 to 5, you're going all in on your own business, but then an opportunity comes up to go back into the corporate world. And you're like, I don't really want this job, but it feels safe and I feel scared. And it's an easy, like that would be a temptation. Additionally, you are holding space for your ideal partner. You've like gotten off the dating apps. You're clearing that partner space in your life, but then an ex comes back up and texts you and you're very tempted to like re-engage there, even though it's not for your highest good. Those are the temptations we're talking about here. And so for the best thing to do is just say no and double down on your commitment. But realistically, we all relapse, we all backslide. And so if you find yourself in that situation, do not feel guilt, shame, or like you're going to be punished by the universe. That's not how it works. You just get to do the test again. You just get to do it over again. And you will have learned something new. Always, anytime that you feel like you've backslidden or had some kind of a setback, that ultimately gets worked in for your greater good. You get to learn in the process. And in my experience, when you double down and you say, okay, never mind, I'm canceling this, I'm quitting this again, I'm getting back on track.
Yeah.
Everything happens. It accelerates. You don't have to go through it. It's never as long. It doesn't take as long that second time around. These cycles get shorter and shorter because you've learned so much and you are in a different place and you are more ready. And if anything, it just makes you more grateful for the test, for the opportunity.
Right.
Because you know now, this is what happens when I don't stay true to myself, when I'm not I'm not following my design, I'm not following my authentic code. And so you're way more grateful and way more appreciative when you get out of that and you're back on track.
Yes. Yeah. Right. And, it's a simple, there's a line in the big book, right, that we stopped fighting. And so this idea that we stopped fighting means that we don't go back. Now, if you have no money and you're in a magic dark and you need to go back to work for a little bit, that's kind of a different situation.
That would be very different. Yeah.
Right. Then it's different than completely giving up on your dream. It's like, well, I'm going to do the steps I need to take responsibly. But this idea that we stopped fighting people, places, and things, that advice of surrender, and at least in my life, is what changed everything for me. So stopping fighting means not fighting the weight, not fighting the magic dark. You call it magic dark, which I love. I call it the waiting room. It's a similar feeling.
It's that liminal space, that in between.
Yeah. Right. And you can be in a waiting room in one aspect of your life and not others.
Correct.
Your career can be going off and your love life can be not, and vice versa. And so there's some kind of integration going on, but you're not bad, you're not wrong. If life isn't perfect, all of those things, it's one of these things that I don't feel like we've prepared each other for. Right.
I agree. I mean, those are all such good points, Tiffany. One thing I like to think about, it's just like basic advice, especially in career, is you either need to learn or earn, ideally both. So if you're in a magic dark and you are, specifically, I'm just thinking about those entrepreneurs who are trying to launch something or pivot to a new career.
Yeah.
If you need to, I mean, we have practical needs. We're physical beings on a physical plane. We have physical needs. So there's nothing wrong with earning money through some other channel, especially if it allows you to have both. So maybe it's like I'm taking a temp job. I'm doing a short-term consulting gig. I'm not signing my whole life away back to some entity or organization or life path that doesn't align, but thinking about, okay, how can I learn, earn, or both? And if I'm still learning, if I'm able to earn, and make that all work together, there's no shame in that. And no one should feel guilty for taking care of the basics. And that goes back to that eight of coins card again. You have to take care of what you're responsible for, especially if you're providing for a family, if you have people dependent on you in some way, you have to be responsible. And just quitting everything isn't always, unless you have that, like, I like to call it an FU fund or that safety net.
I call it a rainy day fund, but I like yours better.
Well, I usually use the full word, but yeah, the rainy day fund, to carry you through. It would be a shame to give up on yourself if you still have 6 months of income in the bank, right?
Yeah.
If you're out of money and out of time, take whatever temporary solution you need to get you over the hump. It's totally available for you.
Amazing. Yeah, right. It is. Okay, so that's the work one, right? And that can be like a really frustrating one, because if you don't have your basic needs met, life gets really scary. Your nervous system gets off.
Yeah.
So I guess, if you're sitting in your magic dark and you have cyclical thinking, you have devil card, you have obsessive thoughts, you're going over and over and over. And you guys know that the phrase, right, that worrying is praying for something that you don't want. And so it's so important to guard your heart, guard your mind, hold your vision. This isn't controlling or manipulating. It's different. It's working with your nervous system to feel something pleasurable towards your goals. And so for me, the easiest thing to do when I'm like, whoop, there I went off on a track, I'm like going crazy over here. First of all, I'll put some music on. It has to change my mind. I'm singing a song and my mind's thinking about the lyrics. And so I definitely have a playlist for these moments. But then the song will stop and I'll remember something and I'll be back in it, right? Like that kind of addictive thinking of like, wow, like you're going crazy, trying to find a solution, fix, force, explain, argue, defend, all of the things that are going on in the mind, right? How do you really stop that outside of turning on some different music and taking a deep breath and counting to 10? I had another point when I started this reel and now I've lost it.
Oh no, this is so good. So I'll pick it up.
Okay.
So other things that you can do that I found super helpful when I'm like overwhelmed with these intrusive thoughts, journal it out, stream of consciousness.
Yeah, get it out of your head.
Either writing it or typing it. Because, and there's so much research now to prove that journaling is so good for your mental health. And yes, you can do the morning pages and all of that. That's not actually what I'm talking about, especially when you've gone through something really hard or traumatic. Literally just writing about it for 15 minutes a day, or even 5 minutes a day, just get it out, get it out, get it out. Your brain will be able to release it. It's somewhere, you put it away. I keep a running document that I just add to as I need to. That's super helpful. And then especially, and I was thinking about, like we talked about career, love and love interests are a big thing. People want relationships. Invest in platonic relationships. If you don't have romantic partners, that's okay. You can still be calling that in and manifesting that. In the meantime, friendships are huge. And one thing that always helps me to get out of my own head is just to talk to somebody, be with people who raise your vibe, who raise your energy level. So this isn't the friend that is full of toxic behaviors and reminds you of your past and all the things. This is the friend that is aspirational, that's living the life that you want to be living. This is a Tiffany. This is Alicia. This is like a girl bestie or a boy bestie who has your best interest at heart, that can show up for you and be authentically present for you, that can hold space for you. Invest in those relationships because you never know, that may lead to something. They may introduce you to your life partner down the road. It can have so many benefits, but really getting out of your head, getting out of your own way can come from just being in community.
Amazing. Okay. That helped me remember what I was going on about. So if you're in that panic state, right, to reset your nervous system, right? So April, like one thing, journal, call a friend, phone a friend, breathe. For me to really reset it, I have to go back to a place of joy and pleasure.
Yes.
So that's hard to do when you're all tweaked out on your thoughts. But for me, and I know that this might sound like the wrong answer, but the easiest thing for me is to go back to my first horse. Her name was Misty. She was white gray with like dark, like she was so beautiful. And so for me, it's just the easiest place to feel immediate joy, that connection with a powerful being. I used to stand up on her back, bareback, and we used to ride through water. I'd like take her on around the track. We'd jump fences, we competed together. And she was super sassy, and I'd crawl under her belly. I did all the things wrong. I always wore my helmet, but I did all the other things. Like, we were just wild, and feral and fun. We had but that is, to me, in my nervous system, because I did that for years and years and years and years, right? That is the easiest thing to access. That 100% of the time I was with that horse, I was happy, joyous, free, air blowing, wind blowing through my hair. The leather smells good. The horse smells good. All of the senses are activated. It's such an the hay smells good. I can just be in the barn right now. Everything about it feels, looks, hears sounds, everything about it. It's a full 5 sensory experience of that pleasure and joy. So, if we are in an exacerbated nervous system state, to calm back down, to get more ventral, and to go back into that feeling of joy and elation, there's many ways you can access that pleasure and joy. That's mine. That's one of mine. And then, right, to shift your focus on that thing, on that feeling that you do want to feel, that kind of pleasure, that kind of joy. You wrote too in the notes, like, it's not about finding the specific thing, right? It's about tapping into that state of being that changes your magnet, that magnetizes the perfect thing to you, which you don't get to be in control of, right? That's the spirit of the universe helping you out. And sometimes the spirit of the universe helping you out doesn't look like fun, right?
So true.
Right? Like, I want to be an astrologer. Yay, I'm an astrologer, right? So now I'm an astrologer. And do you know what I do all day? Talk to people about their worst pain, right? And it's hard sometimes, sometimes I feel like I have to go recover from going through that with them again. So you may think you want something and it may look like you get it. Then there's a lot of challenges. Now, it's my greatest pleasure, joy, and honor to do this type of work. But my point is, it doesn't always look like we think it's going to look like. So better to have the feeling, right? And conjuring those clients that are working on these amazing breakthroughs, right? These aspirational, inspirational clients that have come over time, right? Things shifted a lot. So does that make sense? Am I rambling?
Oh, no, it makes absolute sense. And just to kind of double down on what you're saying.
Yeah.
This is all about energetics, right? And so we need to vibrate at the same frequency as what we're calling in. So like calls to like. And we see this in constructive interference with sound waves, with other waves. When one wave is going out of frequency and interacts with another wave at the same frequency, it magnifies. And so that's science, right? So when you are in that place of your nervous system is connecting to something, whether it's a memory or a place of pleasure, where you are elevating, that is going to open you up to call in that same thing that's vibrating on that same frequency level. And so that is what you need to try to focus on and stay in as much as possible. And I don't mean like toxic positivity where you just got to think positive thoughts. I mean, truly, like, try to ground into things that bring you pleasure and bring you joy. And as an example, I was recently just in such a funk. I was out in Virginia visiting my sister, and there was all this stuff going on, and I was in such a bad place. And she was like, get in the car. We're going to go do some things. And I didn't want to go, and I was not in the mood. And then all of a sudden we were driving around rural Virginia, beautiful fall leaves. And she took me to this amazing restaurant. We just sat on a patio and like looked at this beautiful vista, and it made me feel better. And it just, I didn't do anything. I was kind of forced into it, but upping your beauty quotient, being surrounded by something beautiful, doing something that you know is good for you, whether you feel like it or not, connecting with people and places and things that are good for you. It will help. It just does. It can't not. And so sometimes you have to go through the motions, trusting that the emotion will follow.
Right. Yeah. Go to yoga, everybody.
Yes.
Whether you want to or not, right? Just go, show up. And if you have to leave in the middle because you're sick, like I did the other day, that's fine. You just go, and show up, and the energy will absolutely move. Up your beauty quotient. I like how you said that. That's a good tip too.
Yeah. So that came advice from a good friend of mine who does social work and has worked with a lot of people who've been in traumatic situations. And her mentor told her, the more you're doing in terms of like heavy work, you have to up your beauty quotient. So being in a place that is beautiful. So if you can, I mean, especially during a time like this, if you can relocate or visit somewhere beautiful, I mean, almost every city in this world will have something beautiful in it if you just go look for it and find it. So you don't have to take a big trip. You don't have to, spend a lot of money on travel necessarily. Get in your car and drive out to look at some trees. I mean, look at some birds, appreciate what's around you. It just helps.
This reminds me, I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before. Either I've said it a million times or not at all. So just forgive me if you've already heard this story. But recently I was thinking about, you said look at some birds. It's what made me think of it. The ancient seers, right? You old priestesses of times gone by. They didn't have tarot cards. They weren't looking up symbols. They weren't looking up crystals, right? Like they weren't playing with pendulums. They weren't looking up astrology charts. Maybe they were looking at the sky, but it wasn't like this calculated template systematic approach.
Right.
All it takes is to look outside with the eye of the heart, listen with spiritual ears. And those birds may symbolize something for you. The other day I was in the middle of a reading in my charts. I was like going through the charts. Here's your transits. Here's what you can expect. Like all left-minded, and I looked up, I was talking about okay, interesting. There's some love stuff coming in here. Let's work at that. And I looked up and 2 doves landed on the fence right in front of me, And so even if I wasn't looking at the charts, the universe was conspiring to help deliver a message of lovebirds, right? Things in twos, right? Things in peace. And so this idea that you just drove to a vista, just looked out in nature, just get this refresh and this reset. The universe does want to help you. God wants to help you. The angels want to help you. Your spirit guides want to help you. Your ancestors, your deceased loved ones, your pets, your pets in heaven. I did an awesome interview with Karen Anderson yesterday, guys. She's a former deputy turned pet psychic. Amazing. And her communication with the pets, is very real and easy to access here. But nature wants to be supportive of you, and however you access that, right? And so your ability to sit quietly and tune into that and listen instead of the cyclical thinking, what do I have to do? Where am I going to go next? For me, it's what class do I want to be in? All of the things that light me up can also take me away from just sitting still and listening. So yoga and meditation.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So is there anything else that we wanted to cover on what to do in the waiting room or in the magic dark that we haven't talked about just yet?
The only thing that I'll just say is, sometimes it's hard to know. It's am I in a rut? Am I in a magic dark? Where am I in this? And so that's where I feel like Tiffany and I can really help you. We do have tools, and sometimes it does help to just check in and get reassurance. You are on the right path. You are doing everything, and get that validation. But sometimes we can bring insight that you aren't seeing or aren't hearing for yourself. So, whether it's tarot, astrology, or the Akashic records, don't be afraid to phone a friend and let it be one of us. So always feel like you can reach out. We're here to support you and give you some guidance. I think the Akashic records are particularly good for this because it's an open-ended psychic reading, and we can call in ancestors, we can call in spirit guides, we can look at past life cycles, we can I can just get a vision and channel some messages for you from your own higher self. Because the records are really about you accessing your own data and information and connecting with all past and future versions of you in one place. And so that is particularly helpful in situations like this. So just going to plug that is a tool available.
Well, especially when you can't see, especially when you're just feeling that stuckness. I do these check-ins too. I often tell people you don't need a psychic for that. Right? You can access this yourself.
Yes.
But having that other person validate is somehow connects the cosmic dots, makes you feel seen and heard by God. I was looking over the reading that I got from you in January this year. And I think that this January, February, these are really interesting times to access the records because there is that darkness, that moon card, that mystery that's going on. And even though I know my direction, I know where I'm going, I know what's happening, to have that assurance was just really powerful. For the session that you did for me, we didn't talk on the phone. I gave you like 2 or 3 bullet points. And it was just very, very powerful to have that little check-in. So now I also want to say it's important to not get on the psychic junkie train and start booking sessions every week or every moment. I have watched people go through that where it's like every day they're going to the rock shop and getting the reader coming through. One of the hardest things to say as an astrologer is it looks like it's going to be a couple of years, it looks like you're going through a difficult season.
Yes.
Right. And so that's not to say that there's not going to be good times during that difficult season and that we can point those out. But the worst thing I could do for somebody is to say everything's going to be fine. You're all right. Keep going. Yes, we want to acknowledge the tough times too. So if you are booking sessions out there in the world, then make sure that you've got somebody that will shoot straight with you. And sometimes just hearing wow, I can see that you've gone through some big life changes lately. Often just saying that will bring the tears, and people will start their healing process just by being acknowledged, and validated in that way.
Yeah, that's so true. And I really, sometimes the best thing is just to sit with yourself and let spirit talk to you and just trust that you can hear God. I mean, just you are born wise, as Tiffany says, and you can hear things for yourself. If you need some help, we're here. But beyond that, sometimes you just have to trust that the messages you've already been given are the messages that are still true. You know what to do, and really trusting yourself and your own intuition is key always.
Yeah, it's like looking at the deck and just, I didn't want that answer, so I'm going to shuffle again, and I don't want that answer, and I'm going to shuffle. It's like, sometimes you just give yourself a timeout and take care of yourself and get through the winter, and all of a sudden one day you're going to wake up and turn left and things are going to change. It's going to be okay. This too shall pass, right? So amazing. Well, April, this is awesome. If you guys want to book a session with April, I put the link in the chat. I really appreciate you coming to talk about this. I know a lot of people just don't know what to do when they're in the waiting room of life and they want things to change quickly. And so sometimes a little dip into the records will help you access more information about the lesson that you're going through, access the things in your nervous system that are stuck. And so I really appreciate you coming on. I love your work. I love working with you. I'm glad, that you're doing readings again. I know we get so many good testimonials from April. So I just love you so much. And
I love you so much.
Thank you guys for watching live with us. And until next time, namaste.
Namaste.